gentlemen, help me welcome on stage the one and only Elizabeth Obanda.
It's a lovely evening, so I hope that you are well. It is a pleasure to be here today on behalf of Ms. Anna Mutavati, the UN Women Country Representative, who was not able to join you today. We have been asked to discuss how to inculcate sanity in the marketing sector. And I have a whopping 45 minutes to do it, so please don't go to sleep on me. Keep awake. I will, however, not discuss what ails the sector. Most of you are experts. Instead, I wish to remind you that God created them, man and woman. And they come as diverse as the colors of the rainbow. All sorts of shades and shapes, beautiful and not so beautiful, young and old, while others are differently enabled and come from diverse sociocultural and economic backgrounds. But they are all part of an ecosystem that must synergize, must feed off one another in order to stabilize. The question is, do we bear this in mind as we are marketing? And do we reflect them progressively in our work? Or do we box them in a harmful space called stereotypes? How do we, as marketers, use the spaces and power we have to right wrongs, to shift perceptions for good, to imbue responsibility in different genders and institutions, to shift careers to inform the future of work for our children? With our broad strokes, do we increase or can we increase the number of girls in STEM so it ceases to be, oh, a woman pilot? Can she do it? Are we safe? At the United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and Women Empowerment, UN, we know that gender equality and women's empowerment are prerequisites for strong institutions and communities and stable economies. That for a society to be progressive, it has to be well sensitized and socialized in raising an engendered civilization that leaves no one behind and does no harm, but rather embraces all its human wealth as solution multipliers. And yet, and in the case of marketing, 72% of men and women say most advertising does not reflect the world around them. However, 70% of brand purchasing decisions are made by women. So in fact, you are shooting yourself in the foot if you do not take a gender lens to marketing. Further still, brands that deliver progressive ads have a higher purchase intent of more than 25% for all consumers and 45% for women. It is good for business, after all. In July of 2021, the Cherry Blair Foundation for Women, in their study of women entrepreneurs and stereotypes, found that gender stereotypes significantly shape women's journeys to and through entrepreneurship by affecting their aspirations, sources of support, opportunities, access to resources, perceptions, and the wider entrepreneurial ecosystem in multiple ways. They affect different women in different and multiple ways, intersecting with other kinds of stereotypes, including age, social class, ethnicity, and race. 49% of the women entrepreneurs interviewed reported that gender stereotypes were most commonly conveyed in the media. 61% said they believe that gender stereotypes impact their business growth and affect how seriously they are taken as business owners, while 58% said seeing women in leadership positions in their own community or country would have further encouraged them to start their own businesses. I must say, our entertainment industry has benefited a lot from who we are as a people. Our ability in the Rift Valley to run, our love for ugali in Western Kenya, our love for fish in Luoland, you name it. But it is said in a way that helps us to laugh at ourselves, and we appreciate that. But largely, stereotypes are harmful. When we glorify beating a woman or question their forthrightness and play on whether their no means no, or ridicule their dressing and justify sexual harassment due to a woman's dressing, that is no good. A whopping 69% Kenyans say that women call attention to themselves based on how they dress. That is how some people justify gender-based violence and sexual harassment of women and girls. If you box men as masculine and tough and providers who should not cry but be a man, you promote toxic masculinity, sending the ones that don't conform to commit suicide. You limit their yearning to seek help and safety when they are abused by their spouses. And yet, 42% of those polled agree that media in Kenya only portrays men in certain roles, while 39% of media in Kenya only portrays women in certain roles. So in fact, this industry here contributes to reinforcing harmful opinions, contributing to insanity, as you put it. And sometimes it is unintentional. But in your zeal to cater to certain audiences, marketers often fall for the stereotyping trap. In the year 2021, statistics released by the Ministry of Education show that 12,424 Class 8 candidates did not turn up for the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examinations that were administered in March of that year. Gender-based violence was singled out as the major contributing factor. We know that gender-based violence spiraled out of control during the COVID-19 period, and that women were particularly affected. Some were maimed, while others were killed. And yet in a gender equality attitude study, 30% of Kenyans say that there are acceptable circumstances for someone to hit their spouse or partner. Please, you do agree with me that tackling gender stereotypes as a way of restoring sanity in marketing is the way to go, I hope. So, who are we and what do we do? United Nations Women stands at the center of mobilizing governments and civil societies to keep the promises of the Beijing Platform for Action to all of society. In everything it does, it is committed to making gender equality a lived reality for all women and girls who have historically been marginalized. United Nations Women, therefore, work to ensure that in all areas, including in the marketplace, women lead, participate in, and benefit equally from governance systems. Women have income security, decent work, and economic autonomy. All women and girls live a life free from all forms of violence, and women and girls contribute to and have greater influence in building sustainable peace and resilience, and benefit equally from the prevention of natural disasters and conflicts and humanitarian action. We work closely with the private sector to establish high-level corporate leadership for gender equality. In this case, UN Women Kenya has joined 193 United Nations member states and launched a National and Stereotype Alliance chapter. Safaricom, Unilever, Diageo, Kantar, Marketing Society of Kenya, Marketing Africa, that we are here celebrating, Inua Dada and others are already members, and others are in the process of onboarding. So what is a Stereotype Alliance? It is a thought and action platform that seeks to eradicate harmful stereotypes of all kinds from advertising and media content. And Stereotype Alliance aims to foster workplace equality, to eliminate stereotypes, to achieve unstereotyped advertising, and empower public action against stereotypes. Convened by the UN Women, and Stereotype Alliance leverages both the United Nations global reach and recognition by 193 member states, as well as the private sector. Advocating against gender stereotypes is a priority area for the UN, and the Alliance seeks to empower people in all their diversity across the gender spectrum, including healthy masculinities. By bringing together industry leaders under the auspices of the United Nations, the Anti-Stereotype Alliance makes a powerful contribution towards a more equal world where people are represented in all their complexity of their culture and communities. No country has achieved gender equality to date. Please think about gender equality simply as providing equal opportunities to all genders. That alone is adequate. But it means that you have to be intentional about it. I watch the BBC, and I'm sure some of you do, and marvel how a person without sight can be a guide to world travel. But he is. How one without sight can be a political commentator, but he is. How Kate Eddy and currently Liz Doucette as women are at the front line of war, reporting fearlessly, but they are. It is about intentionality, equal opportunities, recognition of professionalism, but it is also about organizational policy, a progressive policy that aspires for 50-50 representation. The criticality of diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts is growing worldwide. The Anti-Stereotype Alliance national chapters ensure that harmful stereotypes are tackled with a global consistency and locally relevant approaches. Tangible global impact will only come from a clear understanding of each local market's social and cultural nuances and through the commitment and actions of local actors, brands, agencies, producers, advertising authorities, policymakers, all of them together. As you know, gender stereotypes are fairly common. You know that, I don't have to belabor that. We see them in ads, in over-sexualization of women, in unattainable standards of beauty, in an portrayal of people differently enabled. We see all of them. Stereotypes are pervasive and destructive, but we can help shape the world we imagine for ourselves and others by developing advertising that reflect the society around us, by taking collective action. As you know, umoja ni nguvu. So what can we do? We can and should promote progressive portrayal in Kenya's marketing space by casting characters in non-traditional roles. My heart warms up when I see the ad where a man is cooking sukuma wiki for his family, and yet his image is not diminished. If anything, it is enhanced. We need to regularly train marketers and creatives in progressive portrayal, checking all our marketing material for stereotypical portrayals before production and testing advertising content using a measurement tool such as the stereotype metric, and working to ensure your advertising contributes to ending harmful stereotypes. Use your platforms to increase understanding of how gender stereotypes shape women's lives, including entrepreneurship, economic participation, division of unpaid care work, and empowerment. Raise awareness about how gender stereotypes influence the realization of rights and equal opportunities, such as those related to economic participation and entrepreneurship. Campaign and advocate with others to deconstruct gender stereotypes and promote gender equality. You could start by demonstrating leadership and commitment to gender equality and advocating for the implementation of laws, policies, and programs to tackle gender stereotypes. Take concrete measures to prevent and eliminate gender stereotypes and their negative impacts, both in private and public spheres, and especially in media. In conclusion then, people are complex. Let's not reduce them to certain roles. Our society is diverse and multi-layered. Let's not ignore certain groups of people from our marketing activity. Let us reflect that technicolor that I spoke about at the beginning. Let me, Elizabeth, see myself positively portrayed in your ads. Let our children learn from the way that you portray women, persons with disability, the not so beautiful, rural and informal settlement dwellers. Let them know that yes, their aspirations, whatever their circumstances, are achievable. If we were to do an advertising audit today, I wonder how many of your ads would be confirmed to be reinforcing some form of stereotypes. I mean, I don't know. For those of you who are in advertising, if we were to do that audit, if you were to self-reflect, how many of you are reinforcing those stereotypes? How many of you are putting women down? How many of you are putting youth down? How many of you are glorifying whatever it is you're glorifying? And as Swale Mdoe says, tafakari haya. So, join this global movement. I appeal to you, the Anti-Stereotype Alliance. Be counted. Say no to stereotypes and restore sanity to the marketing space. Join these 193 states and members globally. Take leadership. We are conveners as the United Nations, but we are providing the space to marketers to run with it. I thank you for listening to me.